It's time to talk South American football with our correspondent live from Rio. It's Tim Vickery. Hi, Tim.
Hello, afternoon, gentlemen. I don't know if you've given up on paying royalties to Sergio Mendes.
No.
How you doing? Everything good over there?
We're not too bad. Yeah, I mean, have you got Carnival just around the corner? Is that right?
Not far off. Yeah, it's a movable feast, Carnival.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So this year it's early March. Quite often it's February, but this year it's early March. And at the moment, my God, we've got a heat wave on.
Really?
You know, we got a heat wave that will blow the mind of Martha Reeves and the Vandellas. So all the people out for Carnival, blimey, they're going to suffer if it stays like this.
Do you still go along with the family?
I haven't paraded for a while, actually. I did it a few times. The last time I did it, I've always done it in the second division. I know my limitations.
Right.
It's very competitive, you know. And the last time that I did it, it was a last minute. It was a school that they were short on participants, so I had to be an African king.
Oh dear.
And that put a strain, I think, on my acting abilities. And after that, I've been, as many actors are, I've been resting.
Right, resting. Yeah. Oh, now, the under-20, South American under-20 championships, you told us a couple of weeks ago that Brazil made a terrible start and got absolute stuffing, but they rallied and they went and won it, Tim.
They did, yeah. They lost the first game 6-0 to Argentina. That was in the group phase. They only just got through into the second round, and then they ended up winning the second round. They got a 1-1 draw with Argentina, and then it was all on the last day. It's all going to be probably on goal difference. And Brazil were against Chile. It was 0-0 for a long time, but they scored 3 in the last 15 minutes against Chile, meaning that Argentina had to beat Paraguay 4-0, and Argentina couldn't do it. They ended up getting beat. Then it was the only defeat of the tournament. They lost 3-2. And the reason for this is, and it's a punishing thing, it's 9 games in 3 weeks. So come the end, you know, it really does favour the big, strong, physical sides. And that's Brazil. This is a Brazil side, and you would be amazed if you saw some of the non-football that they played. And when they played Argentina the second time, they got a 1-1 draw. I think they crossed the halfway line once. That was their only shot. You know, it was just a team of like towering giants who they got a few goals from corners and stuff just because they're bigger and stronger. And I think this is a huge error at youth football. You know, if you want to be successful in the short term at youth football, you bulk up and you go with size. But as soon as those players go out into the real wide world, you know, and that physical advantage is taken away from them, then that's. But this is really because the poor fella coaching the team, he got sacked a year ago. But they kind of never got round to replacing him. You know what I mean? So he was like both sacked and still in his job. Wow. And so he's under pressure, and especially after they lost 6-0. So it just became kind of win at all costs. And it was a little bit ugly, to be honest. And there was one tackle against, I can't believe VAR didn't send him off. One tackle from quite a good little right back, Igor Serhuachi. He just cut an Argentine player in two. You know, he couldn't carry on, the Argentine player, and he got away with it. And there was a lot of testosterone, you know, there was quite a nasty tone about it. So I don't think you'll be hearing that much more about a lot of these Brazil players at the senior level.
David Washington played for Brazil. Now, he's been at Chelsea, but he's now gone back. It seems he's going to stay over there and play for Santos on loan. And he was telling me he was pretty homesick. I mean, as you've often said, going there so young, there are no guarantees. They're obviously good footballers, but there's so much more to it than just being a footballer.
Yeah, and I don't think he's quite there. It reminds me a little bit of Richarlison, similar build. And scored, I think he scored 3 goals, but he's quite limited. And, you know, you ask him to kick the ball with his left foot and it's not going to happen. So he was one of those players who...
Yeah, good bit of scouting by the sound of it, yeah.
Well, he came over with nothing behind him. Yeah. You know, I mean, Santos were in relegation trouble and they weren't even playing him, you know, as a striker. He was on the... So he was one of those who came over, he's all promise. Yeah. You know, you see, look how Luis Guilherme has struggled at West Ham. They spent a fortune on him. And there is probably a player there, but it's just unfair to spend that much money on a player who's got 1 senior goal. And again, Luis Guilherme, quick, strong, but you're putting him in an environment where the defenders are quicker and stronger than anything he's come up against before. And obviously he's going to find that hard. So this kind of scattergun approach of buying as many young players as you can, obviously there will be casualties.
Now, talking to Santos, Neymar's gone back there. He got his first goal. How's he looked?
A penalty, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a penalty. He got an assist as well. He's played 4 times so far. Only one has been against respectable opponents, and he didn't do a lot there. So he's still kind of working his way back, but at least he's playing, and that's the vital thing. The circus around this is amazing. I do feel for the coach, who you might remember, Portuguese fella, you might remember from time at Rangers, Pedro Caixinha. Now he's one of those, and there's loads of them in the Premier League, aren't there? He's one of those unsmiling Portuguese coaches, very, very serious, and I wonder how he's going to cope with being at the centre of this circus involving Neymar. So it's early days, but at least he's playing. At least he's getting some games under his belt, and he's inching towards match fitness. The big news coming up is because we got World Cup qualification in exactly a month's time. So Brazil will call up soon. Are they going to bring him straight back in? Do they really think he's ready? That's I think that's going to be something interesting to look out for over the next couple of weeks.
I've had a question in from a City fan. You've been talking about Echeverri, who's the under-20 captain for Argentina. He's got an ankle injury. Our listeners wondering whether he's still going to join. What's going on?
Yeah, I think he's already signed and he's already there.
So it's not a bad one.
No, he's a lovely little player, and he it obviously can't be that bad.
Yeah,
because he picked it up against Brazil in a penultimate game, and he played the last game. So he played, and he got through it. Although you could see that he and the other Argentina players, they'd run themselves into the ground. So he wasn't quite as good. But he's a terrific little player, really, really electric figure, lots of talent, and I could even see him, assuming that he can shake off any ankle problems. I can even see him getting in the City team this season. I think there's a player there. I think City fans will love watching him.
Panic over, City fans.
Kendry Páez has arrived at Chelsea for a 4-month orientation.
You're a young lad, you think he's the real deal, Tim?
Well, no, I'm worried about him.
Oh, no, it was Esteval. You said,
Esteval's the one, I think.
Yeah, and Kendry Páez, he looked fantastic as a kind of South American Phil Foden, little kind of left-footed attacking midfielder. But he's had a bad few months.
Yeah, and
the whole thing of growing up in public, I think that's not easy either. So I'm a little bit concerned about him.
Now, this is an intriguing story. Neymar, who we've just been discussing, has got together with some other famous old names. Lucas Moura was at Spurs, or Thiago Silva, of course. They're railing against plastic pitches, Tim.
Yeah, we're getting more of them in Brazil. 3 of the big clubs have them, and more will come in. And you've got to listen to the players when you're talking about pitches. You have to. They're the players to listen to. It is, I think, especially important in this part of the world, and especially in a heat wave, because one of the complaints that they have about the plastic pitches is that they heat up so much. Even through boots and socks, players are picking up blisters and burns on their feet. And that's without them coming into contact with the pitch. What's happening here is it's a kind of business model with some of the new stadiums, because if you put in a synthetic pitch, it makes it far easier to have big concerts. Big shows in there. Yeah. So that's the movement, which it's gathering pace in Brazil, and it's these big name players, with lots of European experience, who are saying no. We don't want this. This is counterproductive, and I think it's great to see the players do this. And Brazil's players, they're not particularly known for sticking together, for getting united, but for them to use their top level European experience and say, look, you should be listening to us, the players, when the subject is pitches. I think this is a really positive thing. Although it's quite hard, I think, from the business model. For my mind, one of the maybe even the greatest thing that the Premier League did was to improve the quality of the pitches. And do you remember, Paul, what White Hart Lane used to be like? Yeah. Come February, it was just a muddy.
Well, all those pitches really in the old First Division were just mud baths, weren't they?
Yes, and once you improve the quality of the pitch, you improve the quality of the spectacle, and you start producing and attracting better players. It's not just the money. Obviously, the money is a big part of it, but it's also the fact that they can show their stuff. In Brazil, it's been a real battle. I remember talking to the fellow who took them to the last 2 World Cups, and he said his big defeat was not being able to improve the quality of pitches in Brazil. The pitches are poor. And one way around this is to try and use these synthetic surfaces. But the players are saying, no, this isn't the way to go.
Well, interesting stuff. Yeah. Tim, we're out of time. We'll catch up with you next week. Thanks a lot.
Look forward to it. Cheers.
Paul Hawksbee and Andy Jacobs, Monday to Friday afternoons 1 till 4 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.